back to the Doug Stewart Show. This episode, or this segment, is brought to you by my friends from Strickland Security. Strickland Security has over 55 years combined experience in the business of protecting your home, whether that's a basic alarm system, a big boy alarm system. They got you covered, man. Great people at Strickland Security. So check them out online at stricklandsecurity.com. That's stricklandsecurity.com. Joining me in the line right now, man, is former #1 pick of the Buffalo Bills in 2009. Aaron Maybin joins me on the Doug Stewart Show. Aaron, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Man, you're doing a lot of big things. Obviously, we want to talk to you a little bit about your career in the NFL and Penn State, but you're doing some big things there in the community. You've actually hooked up with a homeboy of mine, Larry Shaw, and doing some very positive things. Talk a little bit about what you have going on philanthropically.
Man, it's really so much that we do have going on to talk about, but just to touch on a few things. I mean, right now, we're working really hard to get arts education back into most of our public city schools. Most of the Baltimore City school system schools publicly have shut down their art and music program. So that's a huge initiative that I'm partnering with some people and working towards. We're also in the middle of championing a bill in front of City Council to lobby for warning labels on our sugary beverages and some of the establishments that sell a lot of the foods that are contributing to issues like diabetes and heart disease and childhood obesity in our low-income community. And we're also, like as you said, I'm partnered up with Brother Shaw, and we're working really hard to kind of trying to change the landscape of how we're framing our education system. He's got a great movement called Teen-Preneur mentoring that he's working with, and I've partnered up with him to try to bring some attention and some financial backing to a lot of the great ideas that he has for helping to change the way that we're educating our youth.
Talking to Aaron Maybin right now on the Doug Stewart Show on the Stewart Media and Entertainment Network. So yeah, you actually know and are working with one of my homeboys, Larry Shaw. Shaw Inspires. You guys are also participating in kind of like a contest called TI Money Talks Initiative. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, we got to give a huge shout out to TI, because a lot of people talk about improving our communities, and they talk about the problems that we have in our education system and things like that. But what T.I.'s really done is, he's kind of put his money where his mouth is, literally. And, he's offered not a bunch of his own solutions, but he's basically said, let me link up with some people that are already on the ground, that are already working in that sector, and find out what their ideas are for how they can improve their community. And whatever they're able to do as far as raising funds and resources, he's willing to match that. So, Larry has been doing an amazing job here in Baltimore and down in Charleston, South Carolina, of organizing and raising funds for, as I said, this great idea of Teen-Preneur mentoring. It's a great idea that he has, that really the purpose of it is to help, the individual student, expand their confidence and to kind of transform their thinking from a asset-based thinking approach to deficit thinking. You know what I mean? And provide, an environment that will allow that transition, to happen and to really be organic through professional practice. That's kind of how we got linked up. We met in one of the schools that we're both partnered with, and we got a chance to really sit down and talk. And he shared with me some of what he's involved with and how he was trying to raise some money for this whole competition. And I definitely said, look, I'm on board. There's too many times that the guys are complaining about the state of our communities or the state of our education system, but nobody's actually doing anything to change it.
I saw on your resume, man, that you're a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. I'm a brother of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and mentoring with our two particular organizations, man, has always been big, and it sounds like that you agree. Why do you think mentoring is so important?
Mentoring is important because at the end of the day, none of us would be here We talk about privilege all the time. People like talking about white privilege and all that kind of stuff, but we need to just acknowledge privilege, period. Privilege nowadays is actually growing up in a household where you have two parents that are attentive and that actually are able to provide and make sure that you stay on the right path. Not most of our peers are growing up in those kind of environments. So the fact of the matter is, mentorship is important for that reason. In and of itself, not every kid is going to come from an environment where they're nurtured and where they're driven to succeed and where they are led to believe that it's possible for them to achieve the things that they dream about. So it's important for mentors and mentorship to be available because it gives kids an outlet to allow them to really believe and to know the process of being able to achieve some of the goals that they have for themselves. And at the end of the day, the same way I said there are a lot of people out there complaining about the education system, but they aren't doing anything to change it. There are a lot of people out here complaining about the state of our youth. They complain about, how violent it is in our low-income communities. They complain about the drug dealing. They complain about black-on-black crime. But at the end of the day, what are you personally doing to change the state of your community? What are you doing to mentor the kid who could potentially become a shooter? What are you doing to change the outcome of somebody who's headed down the wrong path? So mentorship is essential because of that specific reason. It's important for us to recognize the privileged positions that we're in and be not just be thankful for it, but to reach back and to help the next generation of young minds coming up behind us to have those same opportunities.
The organization is called Shaw Inspires. You can get more information about the projects they have going on and with the creator Larry Shaw as well as Aaron Maybin at shawinspires.wix.com. That's WIX.com. You're from Baltimore, man, and we've seen, on a national scale and even from TV shows, The Wire, on how real it is in Baltimore. They call it Bodymore, some people call it. And talk about growing up in Baltimore, man, and why, how you've gotten to the point that you've gotten in your life, being a first-round draft pick for the Buffalo Bills. You talked about mentoring being a big part of your life and, being a big aspect of why you've been so successful, man. What's life growing out? What was life growing up in Baltimore? What's life like in Baltimore now for the youth?
Really, that's an interesting question, man. A lot of people, like you said, the only exposure they've had to the city of Baltimore is either through The Wire, on HBO, or it's been through, mass media, especially over the past year in the aftermath of the uprising that took place last year. So, Baltimore, in spite of everything negative that you will hear about it, is an amazing place to grow up. There's a reason why, in spite of, the fact that I played, I played and lived all over the world at different points. I always came back home and I always had my permanent residence here. There's no place else that I've ever been that's like Baltimore. The sense of community that's here, the fact that everybody really cares more about the kind of person you are rather than who you are and how much money you make and how much clout your name commands. It's a city where they care about the content of your character and not necessarily the superficial idea of who you are and what you're supposed to be. And I've always loved that about Baltimore, but at the same time, it's a city of tough love. It's a blue city. It's a city where there's a huge disparity of income and inequality, and our cities, our towns within our city are pretty segregated, even in spite of the fact that that Jim Crow was years ago. But in that structure, there's a beauty to the character of the city. Baltimore is an extremely artistic town. It's a town that developed the talents of people like Tupac Shakur, Jada Pinkett, Martin Lawrence. They matriculated through our school system and got a lot of their talents here in Baltimore. And there's a huge creative community here. There's a huge demographic of young creative genius that's here. Our youth are some of the most talented youth that you'll find anywhere in the country. And all of these things are just factors about the city that give it charm and that inspire people like myself who are from here not to move away and to kind of take the success that we've had and to go out to the suburbs somewhere and say that we got out, but we want to see our city improve. We want to bring the resources that we were able to go out and earn back to the city that raised us and the city that needs those resources the most. So it's a really charming town. And anybody that hasn't been here, man, I encourage you not to let the perception that mass media will give you allow you to believe that Baltimore isn't an amazing place to visit, an amazing place to go out.
That's what's up. Finishing up with Aaron Maybin right now on the Doug Stewart Show on the Stewart Media and Entertainment Network. If you want to donate to Shaw Inspires, you can go to crowdrise.com. That's crowdrise.com, and say it with your finances. Once again, that's crowdrise.com, and it's Shaw Inspires Teen-Preneurs, okay? Teen-Preneurs, all right? Obviously, before we get you off the phone, man, we got to talk a little bit about your career. You were drafted #1 by the Buffalo Bills back in 2009. Subsequently have retired from the NFL. We don't have a lot of time to get into everything. Couple of things. Talk about your career. I think most experts that you hear, quote-unquote experts, look at your career and say that, the possibilities for your career were never really realized. Talk about your time in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills and then subsequently going with the New York Jets.
I think that assessment would probably be correct. There was a lot in my career that I accomplished, but there was a lot that I didn't accomplish, and there was a lot that some people might feel like I left unfinished. I retired a lot earlier than most people do. Even this year I've been retired for 3 years now, and I'm only 28. You know what I mean? So there was a lot in my career that I didn't really get a chance to experience, but it got to the point where I had to kind of make a decision. My art, my community activism, and all of the work specifically that I'm doing now has always been a huge part of my life and my career. And I had gotten to the point where, things never went the way that I wanted them to go in Buffalo. I never really had the success that I hoped that I would have there. But when I got to New York, I actually, fell in love with the game again, and finally got a chance to start having fun playing football. And I thought that would be somewhere that I stayed for a long time. I had some success there, but due to the talent that was available in the draft and the fact that things was in transition, that just wasn't a place that I was going to be able to make my long-term home. And when I ended up at my next team, which was the Cincinnati Bengals, I had just realized that I was at the point in my career that I was either going to have to take a step back from everything that I was doing here in Baltimore and everything I was doing with my artwork and focus completely on football in order to have the kind of career that I wanted to have, or I was just going to have to be bold enough to decide that what I was doing now was more important and make that transition rather than trying to do both at the same time and trying to be two people when I know that I had to dedicate as much of my time and energy as possible to being either one if I wanted to see success come from. So, while I never really achieved as much as I expected to when I first came to the NFL, I don't regret anything that took place during my career, and I'm happy with where I'm at now.
Finishing up with Aaron Maybin right now, former first-round draft pick of the Buffalo Bills, also played for the Jets on the Doug Stewart Show on the Stewart Media and Entertainment Network. You kind of led right into it, man. In effect, you left the NFL for your community activism, but you're also an established, accomplished artist. How's the art, I guess, going for you?
It's going great, man. I mean, this is my 3rd year now doing this full time, and every year since the year that I retired and decided to go all in, my art, my name, the kind of work that I've been doing, and the recognition that goes along with it has really continued to grow, man. And I couldn't really be happier with the progress being made. I'm going from trying to when I first transitioned out, my first worry was, how am I going to get people to take me seriously as an artist? How am I going to be able to have, the kind of shows that people will respect, and how am I going to be able to get the kind of respect in the art community that I fought for so hard as an athlete? And now 3 years later, I'm traveling across the world, showcasing my work. I'm on 2 international art tours right now. I've been recognized by everywhere from local government all the way up to being invited to the White House as one of 100 young innovators of color for a big summit that they had there this year. Next month, at the end of this month, I'm having an opportunity to display my work and to speak at the United Nations up in New York, which is amazing. I never would have thought that at the young age of 28 years old, I'd be living this kind of lifestyle, and I'd be able to really share my talent and the messages behind my work with the whole world, and know that it's having an impact on the communities that I hope to have an impact on. So it's really been really gratifying. I'm just blessed. I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Before we let you go, obviously, where can our listeners find your artwork? Is there a website? Also, more information about some of the great things. Where can they find information about some of the great things you're doing in the city of Baltimore?
Yeah, I do have a website. The website is AaronMaybin.com. I'm on all social media platforms. If you look up Aaron Maybin Art on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any of those different platforms, you'll be able to find me. I'm not a hard guy to find.
That's what's up. Hey, Aaron Maybin, joining me on the Doug Stewart Show. Thank you very much for coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Once again, if you want to get more information about Shaw Inspires, go to crowdrise.com. That's crowdrise.com. As well as Shaw Inspires, and that's SHAW, Shaw Inspires Teen-Preneurs. Like entrepreneur. Teen-Preneurs, all right? 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. What are we going to do? I think